Barney Frank is going to give an interview on MSNBC talking about the request by the Bernie Sanders people that he be removed as one of the co-chairmen on the Rules Committee. There are several issues that I have with his argument, and the first one being that his job on the Rules Committee obviously is to enforce the rules. And if he decides and has sufficient backing from the people on the Rules Committee, he can pretty much declare the Bernie supporters, the motions that they make, they can pretty much declare them out of order and bypass them. Now, do I think that he would absolutely do that in the light of day? No, I don't think so. But he could if he chose to, since he has the numbers, if you add his numbers together with the numbers from Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And there's no doubt that they're going to combine forces. So anyway, here's the interview.
Bernie Sanders won a major concession from the Democratic National Committee last week by receiving 5 of the 15 seats on the Platform Committee, but now he wants more. On Friday, Sanders' lawyers sent a letter to the DNC demanding that Connecticut Governor Dan Malloy be removed as co-chair of that Platform Committee and that former Massachusetts Congressman Barney Frank be removed as co-chair of the so-called Rules Committee for the convention. The letter says they, quote, have both been aggressive attack surrogates for the Clinton campaign. Their criticisms of Senator Sanders have gone beyond dispassionate ideological disagreement and have exposed a deeper professional, political, and personal hostility toward the senator and his campaign. It goes on to say if they are not removed, the Sanders campaign will use key positions at the convention and slow convention business to a halt. The DNC then responded to that letter saying that it failed to meet the criteria for removing Frank and Malloy from their positions, so they hold those positions still. And joining me now, former Massachusetts Congressman Barney Frank, the subject of that letter, who is indeed a Hillary Clinton supporter. Congressman, nice to see you again.
All right, now see that's Barney Frank's fault, because and I've done several videos where he's and he is an all the way Clinton supporter, and he's come on national TV and he absolutely has attacked Bernie Sanders, especially after that New York Times, I'm sorry, the Daily News story that they did on Sanders as far as him not knowing or understanding some of the issues that he was talking about, and in particular the issue over breaking up the big banks. And it took one of I'll call them Sanders surrogates to pretty much debate him online and shut him down. So I can understand why Sanders wouldn't want a rabid Hillary supporter who's supposed to be a fair arbitrator as a co-chair on the Rules Committee.
The letter that they sent cited individual things that you have said over the years, some attacks, they would say, that you've made on Sanders. Going back to 1991, they cite a recent interview, though, from Slate, where you were asked if Clinton should release her Wall Street speeches, and your response was, quote, yeah, but I don't think anybody is really against her because she won't. By the way, I think Sanders has been outrageously McCarthyite on that. That was your quote. The Sanders campaign says that comments like that, sir, mean that you're not neutral in all of this, that you can't be supportive of both Clinton and Sanders as you approach your job as co-chair of the Rules Committee. Can you be neutral?
Oh, and enforcing the rules, absolutely. I'm sorry, but we're getting an echo here.
I apologize.
Okay, and well, they're going to do that for a minute, but yeah, enforcing the rules, but enforcing the rules as you see it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a fair arbitrator in enforcing the rules evenly for everyone. Look at your buddy Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She basically set up the rules, and the rules basically favored Clinton, and she did several things, quote unquote, within the rules that definitely weren't a benefit to Bernie Sanders. And in one case, he actually had to go to court in order to force her to be fair about the sharing of database information.
As for that, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
You hear
but
yourself
I can also
back.
hear me.
Let me see if we can fix
I'm sorry,
that.
I'm getting feedback. I apologize. It seems to be okay now.
Okay. Well, so
I apologize.
that's all right. My question was a basic one. They would say that you can't be neutral.
I heard the question. I just have to apologize. At my age, my powers of concentration don't allow me to listen to me and talk at the same time.
I understand. It's hard.
No, I can be very neutral and have been enforcing the rules. They don't understand. Look, Senator Sanders has never been to a Democratic convention. Doesn't understand what the Rules Committee does. It's a very low-functioning committee. It's simply the Parliamentary Procedure Committee. By the way, that letter he sent, which has this supposed long history of hostility, yes, it's true. In 1991, I was critical on a point that I think he now concedes. He was then saying, oh, there's no difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. He was going to go to Congress and not align with either party. He quickly learned that there are real differences and agreed to frankly work with the Democrats. But subsequent to that, many years after that, at Senator Sanders' request, he was in Congressman Sanders, I went to Burlington, Vermont to do a fundraiser for him. This notion that there's been this unbroken list of hostility. I went to Burlington, Vermont and had a fundraiser for him. Actually, I think maybe he wants to release the list of people who came to the fundraiser because I went there as a senior member of the banking committee. A banker or two may have slipped in. But the basic point is this. The job of the Rules Committee is simply to make sure that the parliamentary rules, which are the rules of the U.S. House, are applied. I'm good at that. I've been a chairman. It has nothing to do with who gets the nomination. It has nothing to do with any of the issues that can affect the nomination.
Yeah, but the Rules Committee does set the rules that you will follow through the whole convention.
It does not. I'm sorry, but that's a mistake. The rules are already set. It is the applier of the rules. For instance, a question about superdelegates. That's already established. The Rules Committee that I will be co-chairing has nothing to say about the role of the superdelegates going forward, or whether we should have primaries or caucuses. I think we should change both those. We should have more primaries and fewer caucuses, because the primaries are more democratic. I don't like superdelegates, never have. But the Rules Committee doesn't do that. The Rules Committee simply says, here are the rules that have already been set. We don't set the rules. We apply the rules, and some of the rules are, frankly, the somewhat complicated parliamentary rules of the House of Representatives, which I'm one of the few people who understands having done that. But none of the issues that you might raise about whether superdelegates should vote or not, that's not within the jurisdiction of the Rules Committee. It's not a very big deal.
What about passage of the platform when you're trying to decide what the party stands for and what your statements should be coming out of the convention? Doesn't the Rules Committee have some say over how those votes go?
The Rules Committee, yes, it has to say that the rules that are already in place, the parliamentary rules, ought to be followed. I am one of the people who will be enforcing. Yeah, that means, and by the way, I've been a chairman. I've been a chairman in tough situations, and yes, I can apply the rules fairly. But the point is, the point is that the platform. The rules about the platform simply say the majority wins. There's no discretion. I'm sorry, but there's absolutely no discretion to rule out anything or not. The rules about the platform committee, that's a more important committee. They will say if you get certain number of votes in the platform committee or a certain number of delegations, this goes to the floor, and it goes to the floor, and there's a vote. There's no rules issue about it.
Well, and Senator Sanders, as you know, is complaining about that committee as well, the platform committee. He would like Governor Malloy to be removed, and the DNC said, no, that's not happening. His point is this, though, as you know, his point is he's won 21 states. He's won over 10 million votes through this whole process. He would say he's got a movement behind him, and he feels like he's being sidelined when it comes to the convention, like he's not getting enough power on these committees.
I understand you want to change the subject from the one we were just on, because I do want to reemphasize that there's nothing the Rules Committee can do to influence how the platform is decided other than to fairly apply the rules. As far as the votes, it's true he's gotten a lot of votes. Of course, Hillary Clinton has gotten significantly more votes, so he's not being sidelined in any way. He is going to go to the convention and the rules will apply. In fact, he was just given 5 seats on the platform committee, although I must say I regretted that one of those he chose, Cornel West, is one of the most bitter critics of President Obama. I found that very regrettable. Mr. West is a man who has impugned President Obama's commitment as an African-American to civil rights, but that was Sanders.
Yeah, and so have a lot of other people, yours truly included.
Right to do that. But nothing in what we are talking about sidelines him. He will go there with his delegates. He will have fewer than Hillary Clinton because he wants fewer votes and fewer delegates. But under the rules, his people can offer platform amendments. They can have this debate. They can nominate him. They can make speeches about him. They can have a roll call and he will get votes. So he hasn't been sidelined at all. My job is to make sure that you don't get involved in a parliamentary snarl where people look bad. The rules are fair rules. They don't help one person or another. They just make sure, under the rules, if he has a certain number of delegates, either on the platform committee or in the floor, he can offer amendments to the platform. That my job is to make sure that that right is fully protected. There's no sidelining.
Right, I was just going to say, you seem to be saying essentially he's making a big deal out of something that is not that big of a deal.
Yes, and I'll tell you why.
And what does that say about the party?
It says something about him. Here's what it says. Senator Sanders is disappointed that he hasn't won. He is losing. He's losing not because anything was rigged or because of any trickery. He's losing because Hillary Clinton has gotten more votes. You know, one of the things that Senator Sanders, I guess, didn't pay attention to was that black votes matter. There's been a very large African-American vote for Hillary Clinton as well as some others. As a result, she has more votes. I am disappointed. I think he has a right to stay in. I've never said he should stay out. I just wish that he would stay in and talk about the issues where he wants to focus and not make the bogus claim that he's being cheated. And this focus on Dan Malloy and me has to do with, I think, some of his people wanted to claim that he was cheated when he's losing, if he loses, on the up and up. He's lost because the process has worked. And by the way, I have said all along, if Senator Sanders got more pledged delegates than Hillary Clinton, I would oppose the superdelegates nominating her. I don't think the superdelegates ought to do that at all, and there's no evidence that they are. Her lead over him is based on pledged delegates wanting votes. So I think what you have here is a kind of a diversionary tactic to try and take away, to give an alternative explanation of why he's losing.
As much as I hate to agree with Barney Frank, because I'm not a big Barney Frank. I used to be, but after he went off the edge, I changed my mind about him. He is 100% right that Bernie Sanders did not put enough effort into going after the black vote. And he should have known, as did a whole lot of other people, at the very beginning of his race, and I was one of the first people, I believe, that was going back and forth tweeting with him, and I tweeted, whether he read it or not, that he needed to carry his butt down into the South and go after those black votes, okay? And that's like almost a year ago, because Hillary Clinton, for whatever reason, and I'm going to say that there was a lot of misinformation or lack of information regarding her record and its effect on the black community. He should have gone down there, possibly, probably not to win in the South, but to knock down her advantage, because she was beating him like 70% to 30% or worse. If he could have just knocked that down to 60-40, he would be in a much better position as far as the vote numbers are concerned and as far as delegates are concerned. So in this particular case, Barney Frank is right. Bernie Sanders did not give sufficient attention to the black voters in the South, and that is part of the reason why he is definitely behind. Now, as far as cheated, no, I don't think Bernie Sanders was absolutely cheated. I think that the way that things were run, the system was rigged against him, and in knowing, that the system was rigged against him, you're not really cheated, but it's just like you got two people pulling on a rope versus one. So it's two against one. Is that cheating if it's in the rules? No. Is it fair? Absolutely not.
Does that mean it's going to be hard for him to support Hillary Clinton, do you think, in the end?
Hard, yeah. Personally, look, you know the biggest lie politicians tell? It's not, I'm going to cut your taxes or pick up your garbage. It's, oh yeah, we ran against each other, but we're still good friends. There's nothing about running against each other that avoids enmity. But I think, given his values, he's a man who believes in what he thinks. And given his values, given the need to have a Supreme Court justice who will overturn Citizens United, the need for a minimum wage increase, protection of LGBT rights, dealing with climate change, putting a major infrastructure program out there, cutting taxes, holding taxes down for middle-income people, and raising them for the rich. On all of those issues, as he himself has said, Donald Trump would be a disaster. Hillary Clinton is A, not where he would like her to be, but B, way ahead of Donald Trump on every issue. So it's inconceivable to me that after his 25 years in Congress with his career, Bernie Sanders would do anything other than try to make sure that Hillary Clinton defeated Donald Trump. Would he be totally happy about it? In our hearts of hearts, sometimes we do the things that we know are the right things without going home and cheering about it. But there's no question he's a man of integrity, he's a man of commitment, of principle, and it's inconceivable to me that he would do anything other than try to defeat Donald Trump.
Barney Frank, former...
All right, so all of these surrogates got their marching orders. Do not impugn Bernie, okay? Try to build him up as a person of integrity, because we are going to win this thing. So, it is what it is. Now, it's like anything else. If it comes down to Trump and Hillary Clinton, I can't stand Hillary, but Trump is even worse. So I basically have to look at what is going to be the fallout. And the fallout to me, obviously, is going to be who gets named to the Supreme Court. Because bottom line, the Supreme Court justices that are going to be named, and it's probably going to be anywhere from 2 to 4 Supreme Court justices being named, are going to have a profound effect on this country for at least the next 15 to 20 years. I'm hoping that Merrick Garland doesn't get confirmed by the Senate, so that when the Democrats come in, and I do believe the Democrats are going to win, that the Democratic president will be able to name at least, 2 to 4 progressive judges that are going to be able to get the social fabric of this country back on the right direction. And I know that there are going to be some people out there that are going to disagree because they're conservative. That's your opinion, I have mine. But as far as getting rid of Citizens United, getting voting rights placed back on an even keel, and a couple of other social issues, you're going to need progressive judges to get that done.